The sky burned orange beyond the airplane's small, scratched window. Sarah Miller, a 28-year-old waitress from Boise, Idaho, sat in seat 17A, her hands folded tightly in her lap. The hum of the jet engines vibrated through her bones, a low, steady drone that felt like the world holding its breath. She wasn't supposed to be here, not on this military transport plane, not surrounded by uniformed men and women with sharp eyes and sharper voices. She was just a waitress, pouring coffee at a diner off Highway 84, her life a quiet loop of greasy plates and late-night shifts. But one word, spoken in a crackling radio transmission, had changed everything. Falcon. Sarah's morning had started like any other. The diner's neon sign flickered in the pre-dawn chill, buzzing faintly as she unlocked the door. The air smelled of burnt coffee and diesel from the trucks idling outside. She tied her apron, its strings worn thin from years of use, and started the coffee pot. Regulars trickled in, truckers, farmers, a few night shift nurses. Sarah knew their orders by heart. Black coffee for Jim, pancakes for Linda, eggs over easy for Mike. She moved through the motions, her smile automatic but warm, her voice soft as she asked, "More coffee?" The problem wasn't the job itself, it was the weight of Ida, the way it pressed down on her, day after day, until her dreams felt like dust under her sneakers. Sarah had always wanted more, not fame or riches, but something, a purpose, a spark, a reason to wake up feeling alive. At night, she'd lie in her one-bedroom apartment, staring at the ceiling, imagining a life where she wasn't just Sarah the waitress. But dreams don't pay rent, and hope doesn't fill an empty fridge. So she stayed, pouring coffee, wiping counters, and smiling through the ache in her chest. That morning, though, something was different. A new customer sat at the counter, a man in his 40s, wearing a dark jacket and a baseball cap pulled low. He ordered coffee, black, and sat quietly, his eyes scanning the diner like he was memorizing it. Sarah didn't think much of it. People passed through all the time. But when she refilled his cup, he leaned forward, his voice low. "You ever heard of Falcon?" She froze, the coffee pot heavy in her hand. "Falcon?" she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. It wasn't a word she'd heard in years, and not since her father, a retired Air Force mechanic, used to tell her stories about his time at Mountain Home Air Force Base. He'd mentioned Falcon once or twice, always in a hushed tone, like it was a secret too big to hold. But her father had passed away 3 years ago, and those stories had faded with him. The man's eyes narrowed. "You're Tom Miller's daughter, aren't you?" he asked. Sarah's heart skipped. She nodded, unsure why it mattered. The man slid a folded piece of paper across the counter. "Read this, then get to the base. They'll find you." He stood, left a $10 bill, and was gone before she could ask more. The note was simple, written in sharp, slanted handwriting. "Falcon protocol activated. Mountain Home AFB. All 900 hours." Sarah's hands trembled as she read it. She didn't know what Falcon meant, not really, but her father's voice echoed in her mind, stories of classified projects, experimental tech, things he'd only hinted at. She glanced at the clock, 7:45 a.m. The base was 30 minutes away. She untied her apron, told her manager she was sick, and drove. Now, here she was, strapped into seat 17A on a C-130 transport plane, the air thick with the smell of fuel and sweat. The soldiers around her were quiet, their faces unreadable. Outside, the Idaho landscape blurred into streaks of brown and gold. Sarah clutched the armrests, her knuckles white. She didn't belong here. She was a waitress, not a soldier, not a spy. Yet the note in her pocket felt like a tether, pulling her towards something she couldn't name. A voice crackled over the plane's intercom. "This is Colonel James Carter. We're en route to a secure facility. Remain seated." No questions. The soldiers nodded, but Sarah's stomach twisted. She glanced at the woman next to her, a young sergeant with a buzz cut and kind eyes. "You okay?" the sergeant whispered. Sarah swallowed. "I don't even know why I am here." The sergeant's gaze softened. "None of us do. Not really. Just trust the process." Sarah wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at her. What did Falcon mean? Why had that man known her father's name? The plane banked slightly, and her heart raced as the horizon tilted outside the window. She closed her eyes, picturing her father, his calloused hands, his quiet laugh, the way he'd point at the sky when jets roared overhead. "Those are F-22s," he'd say. "Fastest birds in the sky." And Falcon, a broken bar. "Well, that's something else entirely." The plane landed with a jolt, the wheels screeching against a remote airstrip surrounded by desert and mountains. Sarah followed the soldiers out, her sneakers crunching on gravel. The air was dry, sharp with the scent of sagebrush. A group of officers waited near a hangar, their uniforms crisp, their faces stern. One stepped forward to Colonel Carter, his silver hair catching the sunlight. "Sarah Miller?" he asked. She nodded, her throat tight. "Yes, sir." "Come with me," he said. The soldiers dispersed, but Sarah felt their eyes on her and she followed Carter into the hangar. Inside, the air was cooler, the space vast and echoing. A sleek, black aircraft sat in the center, not an F-22, but something stranger, its lines sharp and unnatural, like a bird carved from obsidian. Sarah's breath caught. It was beautiful, terrifying, and somehow broken bar familiar. Carter turned to her. "Your father worked on this Project Falcon, a prototype, decades ahead of its time. He left something behind, is something only you can access." Sarah's mind reeled. "Me? I'm nobody. I'm just you're Tom Miller's daughter," Carter interrupted, his voice firm but not unkind. "He coded the system to you, biometric lock, your DNA, your voice. He trusted you." The words hit her like a wave. Her father, who'd spent his life fixing engines, had left her a secret buried in a machine. She stepped closer to the aircraft, her reflection faint in its polished surface. "What do I do?" she asked, her voice trembling. Carter pointed to a panel on the aircraft's side. "Place your hand here. Speak your name." Sarah hesitated. The hangar was silent, the air heavy with expectation. She pressed her palm against the cold metal. A faint hum started, low at first, then rising. "Sarah Miller," she said, her voice steady despite the fear curling in her chest. A green light blinked. The panel slid open, revealing a screen with a single word, Falcon. Data scrolled across IDA coordinates, schematics, a map of the sky. Sarah didn't understand it, but she felt it, the weight of her father's work, his trust, his legacy. Tears stung her eyes. He'd always believed in her, even when she didn't believe in herself. The twist came softly, like a breeze shifting the desert sand. Carter explained, Project Falcon wasn't just a plane. It was a defense system, designed to protect the skies from threats no one else could see. Her father had been more than a mechanic, he'd been a guardian, hiding his work behind a quiet life. And now, Sarah was part of it. The system needed her to activate it, to keep it safe. But there was a choice: walk away, return to her diner, her coffee pots, her small life, or step into the unknown, into her father's world. Tension hung in the air as she stood there, the hum of the aircraft steady, like a heartbeat. The soldiers outside were waiting. The sky beyond the hangar doors was darkening, clouds gathering like a storm. Sarah thought of her father's stories, his calloused hands, the way he looked at her with pride. She thought of the diner, the endless days, the dreams she'd let slip away. Her heart ached, but it was a good ache, a spark, a purpose. "I'll do it," she said, her voice quiet but firm. Carter nodded, a faint smile breaking his stern expression. "Good. Let's get to work." The days that followed were a blur. Sarah trained with engineers, learned the basics of the Falcon system, and met pilots who treated her like family. She wasn't a waitress anymore, not in their eyes. She was Sarah Miller, daughter of Tom, keeper of the Falcon's heart. The work was hard, the hours long, but for the first time, Sarah felt alive. The sky wasn't just a view from a diner window, it was hers to protect. One evening, as the sun sank over the mountains, Sarah stood outside the hangar, watching an F-22 streak across the sky. Its roar filled her chest, and she smiled, tears mixing with the desert dust on her cheeks. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was part of something bigger, something her father had built for her. The insight settled softly. Sometimes, purpose finds you when you least expect it. A single word of Falcon had changed her life, not because it was magic, but because it reminded her who she was. She was her father's daughter, and that was enough. As the jet vanished into the horizon, Sarah whispered, "Thank you, Dad." The wind carried her words away, but she knew he heard them. If you're waiting for your own Falcon or your spark, your purpose, don't stop looking. It's out there, hidden in the quiet moments, waiting for you to say yes.